What is the
Okay.
fucking Japanese Pac-Man? Ganbate or something?
Gambarimasu.
Ohayo.
Let's
Reiwa.
try your best.
Ochinchi desu ka nan da yo.
I do not like dick. Shut up, TK.
Hello and welcome to An Evening with Comrades.
No, fuck! God damn it! Not my. Ah!
Jesus, settle down.
Yeah.
Tonight
Yeah.
we have with us Dip Dap.
Yeah.
We also have with us, joining us for the first time, I think, Theo.
Yes, hello.
We also have with us Crypto.
Fiskerman Mokharachin.
We have Positive Pac-Man.
Jesus.
Ohayou gozaimasu, minasan.
And joining us later will be Senna as well. Tonight, first up, we're going to be talking about the possible end of the world, where Trump...
Before we do that, I would like to put it on record that the first thing that was actually recorded by the stream was TK saying that Peter likes stick.
In Japanese, yes.
Yeah.
We're
Anyway,
gonna
to
talk
nuclear
about-
war now. Yeah.
The US military was flying a drone over, the US says, international airspace. Iran says over their airspace. And Iran shot it down. Then later we find out that Trump ordered an attack on Iran, and then within seconds rescinded the order. But
Planes
Theo,
were in the air.
yeah, Theo, you have a theory as to why.
I think that NATO didn't play ball. Specifically, the big three, that being Germany, Great Britain, and France. Those are the three powers that the US would need in order to sustain a war effort of this magnitude. The English needs their oil shipments specifically out of the Persian Gulf. Like, they ship it out of Kuwait through the Strait of Hormuz. And they can't just say, oh, we're gonna take it from like Alaska or Canada or whatever, because they don't have access to that to the Pacific Ocean. Now, France is just kind of on fire right now, so
Just a small bit.
They have something bigger to worry about, like a government on like plastic supports.
yeah. And the Germans, they don't really want to go on fucking wars
War
overseas
again?
at the moment. No.
Go to war.
That
They
makes
didn't
again.
go. They didn't join the Iraq War. When they did, after much delay, join the Afghanistan offensive, they just sat in a mountain in the safest place in Afghanistan and sat it out for 10 years.
I personally view Trump's reversal on the attack decision as the biggest cockblock in history, man. Moving on.
I
knew
knew
that
you
you were
were
gonna
going to
say
say
it.
that
I-
the
like, I
second
had
that it
a-
came up.
I had a theory that you were sitting there looking at the news, and then the second you heard that it had been called off, you were like, "Oh, come on! You don't get me to full mast and then stop. There's a following through and a swallowing process."
Exactly. I was genuinely disappointed because, as I said, I posted on Twitter Gulf of Tonkin 2 Carrier Strike Group Boogaloo, and I was excited. I was getting ready.
Thing is, on their own, the US would have really, really bad problems in Iran. Especially if they want to, start by softening it up with airstrikes. They can't really do that, considering that the Iranian mountainside is littered with SAM sites.
Exactly.
Like, they want to send
I'm-
an A-10 and that shit's going down the second it gets off fucking carrier.
It doesn't
well,
work like
and
that, Chief.
a carrier-borne A-10 would be rather impressive. Just throwing this out there. I would actually pay good money to see a carrier-borne A-10.
It was a mismatched example.
Yeah, true, but still, I was more excited of how the Russians would react to, like, an entire U.S. expeditionary force on their southern border. That would be kind of interesting. I'd love to see how that ends, because I think we all know how that ends.
Well, how
And
did they
oh
react?
boy.
Well-
Poorly.
How did Russia react
Well,
previously to America going into Iraq and Afghanistan? Stan?
Well- To Iraq, not much, considering that it's kind of just on the periphery for them. They were very unhappy
Yeah.
about Afghanistan. Very
Yeah,
unhappy.
but the thing is, they backed Iran in the Iran-Iraq war, so
Yeah.
you know, fucking the Russians didn't care. The Russians saw it as the Americans taking out their own problem child, which, to be fair, they kind of were.
Yeah.
Thing is,
And
was
with
gonna-
America's past of essentially funding people in the Middle East, doesn't bode well if they do it again, because every time they've done it, it fucks them up.
I think it's my favorite fact of all that the Iranian Air Force still has like 12 F-14 Tomcats left over from the Shah. They started out with like 100, and they've been constantly cherry picking parts off the others.
I thought it was 40. I thought they still had like 40 operational.
No, dude, like you got to understand, they haven't had spare parts for those
Those are
aircraft for the
old.
past 30 years.
It's not even
Um,
fucking produced anymore.
The
Interesting.
thing about it is that, like, every time America allies with a group in the Middle East, it fucks them over. In the long run, I mean, I think Reagan called Osama bin Laden in the 80s like the Middle Eastern founding father? Him in the ass.
mm,
We funded multiple paramilitaries in multiple countries. They've all come back to bite us in the ass. We train people, they come back and bite us in the ass. Like, America doesn't learn that it's not a good idea to fund movements like ISIS, and
The question is, who actually gets hurt? Because it's not the US government. Sure, they
I know,
lose
it's
face
people.
into... Yeah,
Silly
because it's
people.
not fate. The thing is, I think they know full well that it's not going to work out. The thing is, they get resources. They get
Yeah,
to
it gives
flex
them a false
They get to
pretense to go
flex
to
their
war.
muscles. If a few million children have to die in hospitals for that, that doesn't matter. I don't care about those kids.
Yeah.
I think it's an evolving thing from when they first had the domino theory, how if a communist country just happened, the countries around it would then turn communist as well. So then there was the idea of containment, whereas now it's, instead of the domino theory, it's the destabilization theory. So if they can destabilize different countries enough so that they can't sort out conflicts within their own country, then they can have an excuse to say, we're going in as peacekeepers. By the way, give us all of your
Regime
resources.
change.
Yeah, regime change.
Okay. I don't want to change the subject. Just a quick little anecdote. I don't know if you guys remember. About 6 months ago, I mentioned on the stream that one of my friends started dating a Nazi. I think you recall me mentioning that at one stage.
Yeah.
I remember, yes.
I'm just gonna get ready to play Curb Your Enthusiasm, because I'm talking to the person who dated said Nazi, and they have just told me that they are now, since have broken up with said Nazi, and is pressing charges for assault, sexual harassment, and defamation of character. Oh my god. Who saw that one coming, ladies and
Imagine
gentlemen?
my shock.
Imagine my shock.
Is your,
No.
is your
little
friend
sort of-
okay now, though?
She's okay. I've checked up with her, and but like I'm just
Right.
like, a Nazi treating women like trash.
So,
Hmm.
so could you give us a little update as to, not an update, but like a retrospective on this for those that don't know?
Okay, so here's what happened. A couple of months, no, not even that, maybe almost a year ago now. I shared a video around with people regarding of footage that my friend took of the guy's room, and she was talking to me about this guy, and she filmed the room, and sure, do I have to be concerned? Was the subtext of the video, and there was literally a fucking swastika flag the size of the wall, like it literally covered the wall from one end to the other. There was an SS flag above his bed head, and neo-Germanic pagan imagery all over the room. He had a picture of Hitler up there. He had other people up there, and I'm just like, okay. And I told her, like, I said, look, like, because she's had a bad track record with guys, but I've basically categorically said to her, I take back everything bad I've said about every one of your boyfriends beforehand. Just do not date this man. She ignored me.
I don't. I mean to be pedantic, but it's a bit rich coming from you, considering some of the decor in your room.
Come on.
I'm being pedantic. I mentioned this before making the comment. Anyway, back to the fascists in public office. Personally, I
Excuse
think
me,
that
the giant Soviet flag hanging from my roof is a bit of a giveaway. Let's be honest here. It's a bit of a giveaway.
Once again, accidental overt support.
No, but
Oh yeah, I remember that video. It reminds me of that meme of like some guy standing in a voting booth, and the little curtain can't close because his Soviet flag is sticking out the back, and the caption is "Thank God for secret ballots."
Hold on. Fucking.
So yeah,
if
I
the
think- Go ahead.
if the fucking Gulf goes hot, I don't
Pretty
know how
well,
much the
dude.
Russians are gonna get involved, but personally, I'd expect Vietnam.
I think a big question a few people want answered is what will Saudi Arabia do? Because they've stated before that they do not
Nothing.
want. Yeah, they do not want a war with Iran, but would they really go as far as to hinder
No.
the US from
No.
going into Iran?
No,
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 no, not at
No.
all.
The reason
Because
they don't want
we're
to go to
funding
war,
them in Yemen.
yeah, the
Oh,
reason they don't want to go to war with Iran is because they don't think such a war can be won.
And they're right.
If they thought they could wipe out Iran, they would be pushing for war right now.
Yeah.
It
They
already
just know
happened.
that the Iranians have the power to cut off the fucking economic lifeline of the Saudis by closing down the Persian Gulf and
Yeah.
basically strangling Saudi Arabia to death.
Yep. So it's like, and with the case with like Iran and all that, you're talking about a country that has vehemently hated the US. Its population hates the US and has hated the United States for, you're thinking a good 40 years now.
I mean, relatable, to be honest.
Yeah, to be quite honest. But again, those, like, again, just a disclaimer, I do not support the Iranian government whatsoever. They are
I don't think anybody in this chat does.
Yeah, they are an Islamist theocratic government that executes communists like they open Christmas presents. Like, but at the same time, the US has fucked up the Middle East enough.
Look, all I'm saying is that, yeah, pretty much every government down there is complicit in horrid acts against decency and humanity. But a burning M1 is still a sight to behold.
Exactly, agreed.
I don't know. It's you see, I don't mind whichever side that wins. I mean, we all know which side's gonna win, but
the insurgents.
it's just yeah, it's
Well,
gonna happen.
my question is, even if the US could overwhelm the forces, which eventually I suppose they could.
Not eventually, they'll win. It's whether they
will
can fight
win.
the war afterwards.
The thing is, this isn't Iraq. This isn't Afghanistan. This isn't a country that has had a destabilized military situation for the past
Like
25,
decade.
30 years. This is a country that has been preparing for this conflict for the past 20 years, that has bunkered itself in, that has fortified its entire mountainous country.
Yeah, it's like
They're
you've
going to fight this war centimeter by centimeter.
like
And I
you
don't know if the US has. Well, if they really wanted to, yeah, they could win this war. The question is, could they actually sustain the effort without, well, getting the old Vietnam anti-war protests, except a lot worse? Because
twin
the
that with
US doesn't have any reliable allies in the area. In
and again
Vietnam, the Japanese could serve as like a good staging ground, and Australia was close by. They could help. They were resupplying. Who's in the area there that has an actual military force?
Saudi
They
Arabia.
could stage in Iran or Afghanistan.
and the
And
thing
the
is
only
is like
problem is,
the thing
I'm
is like
talking about allies. I'm talking about allies with reliable military forces that aren't just propped up by the US.
I was going to say Israel or Saudi, but
Yeah, but Israel isn't exactly a force that has access to the Persian Gulf.
Hmm.
yeah. But another thing is
If
like
the Israelis go out with the intent of war, Egypt's gonna close the Suez Canal for them again. So
Yeah.
like
they can't supply that.
yeah, and the whole thing is like with the hello.
Oh, someone joined. What, Senna?
Oh, it's Sana.
Hey, Sana.
Hi, Sana.
Yeah, I'm just popping in real quick because I'm actually in the middle of a panel where I'm sewing stuff, but I mean,
Ugh. Ooh,
Oh.
I can't see very long. I'm sorry.
that internet connection.
Oh,
Yeah, you're roboting a
Oh.
bit, hun, but
You've
we
Senna's
also,
trying
can't
to
you've
turn
also
the
got
camera
your
on.
video
Oh, God.
running as well, it seems.
Yeah, she's trying to. Well, she's trying to show us something.
Oh,
She's gone.
rip. Nah. Turkey.
Turkey.
Nah,
I think a question that should be
Thing
asked
is,
is,
none of these countries have access
To
to the Indian Ocean.
does
Yeah.
the US even have any allies within its own country? Because there's been a big response from people starting up their own no war on Iran movements, and one of the big proponents of that is our boy Bernie. So what kind of work do you think could actually be done to try to stop this attack on Iran when
Well-
Trump ordered it and then rescinded it when the planes were in the air so flippantly?
Well, really, it's not. Can we stop the war from happening? That's pretty unlikely.
Yeah.
Like from the inside. But the thing is, the US needs manpower, and if you deprive them of that by creating a large, anti-war movement, you'll deprive them of additional manpower. Because right now, the US has a fairly large standing army. But in a grinding fight, like trying to invade Iran,
Not gonna happen.
that's gonna evaporate.
I was gonna say, reminder to burn your fucking draft cards.
I mean, honestly, my take on this would be the only reliable ally that the United States has that you could even stage an invasion from realistically would be Kuwait, and you'd have to ship your entire army in an amphibious landing across the busiest sea lane in that part
That
of
they
the
would
world.
see coming miles away.
And,
Yeah,
and on
like-
top of that,
Try-
we're speaking about like an anti-war movement and stuff like that. To win that, with the global recession that's going to come after after the Strait, where 40% of the world's seaborne oil shipments come out of.
My
Ooh.
question is still, do they full? I don't think they will full on close it. I think they're going to put an embargo on the United States. Is what I think is going to happen, because the Iranians are also heavily relying on those exports.
Yeah. So I'd say that would probably be their last resort. So like if there is actually war and like the US is invading, I think that would probably be their last resort.
Yeah, the only
I
place
just-
they could get from is Kuwait, really, and they'd have to go because they couldn't just march in because the small bit of Iraq there.
Mm-hmm.
Have you?
They'd have to go by
Yeah.
sea and land, and the way that Iran is fortified, it's not gonna fucking work.
Have you guys
Yeah.
seen?
Well-
Like how are you going to move several armored columns through the Strait of Hormuz without the I think
Getting
eighth,
destroyed
the,
before you land.
I think the 8th largest military.
They have like half the military size of the U.S.
Yeah, you're gonna
And
get spotted and destroyed.
and the thing is, right? We have to also think about all of the military personnel in the U.S. that aren't in that region. In the first place, like all of our at-home fucking reserve fighters or the people at bases around the world, like Korea and shit, the military'd be too fucking thin.
Yeah, this isn't Afghanistan. There is an actual centralized government with an actual centralized military in Iran. A military
not,
that isn't on par with the US, but they have equipment that, you know,
And they
in
have
in an
definitely a
actual
land advantage.
and
in
they're
an
not
yeah
already
in an
fighting civil
actual
war.
like head-to-head battle, because this isn't putting the US against Iran one-on-one. This is putting Iran in a very well-entrenched position against the US that has to somehow invade troops.
Hey, wait.
Because we couldn't,
what
we couldn't ship half the U.S. military to Iran. It wouldn't work.
What about
Yeah.
why isn't
So what they'd have to
the-
put. So we. Sorry.
why isn't the US focusing on Venezuela anymore as well?
Because it
didn't
was
work.
Because it
too
failed.
difficult and too
It
boring.
didn't work.
Well, you can't like they had this big plan to oust Maduro. Like they thought, oh, we can just do this like we did it with Chile. The only problem is the majority of the population supported Maduro. So
Unlike fucking fuck, I forget his name.
yeah, that's how insignificant
Guaido.
he was. Like we
No,
just
no, no,
forgot
I'm
about
talking
him.
about unlike in
Oh.
Chile.
Oh, what Pinochet?
No. We supported Pinochet. I'm talking about Glasses Man.
Allende?
Allende, yeah. The
Yeah,
majority didn't
like-
support Allende, and the majority of the military did not support Allende. 1% of the Venezuelan military supported Guaido when, like, at least 20% of the military supported Pinochet. Like, come on, guys.
And honestly,
Yeah.
It's not a contest.
the whole thing with Iran is like, the people saying, oh, Iran can't hurt our assets here in the US, they can't access the wider Middle East, it's going to be entirely in Iran. These people have clearly never heard of Quds Force. For those who don't know, Quds Force is the covert foreign intelligence branch of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. They are active in Syria, they are active in Yemen, they are active in Afghanistan, they are active throughout the world. So if the US thinks that the fight is just going to be limited to Iran, they are very, very mistaken.
Even so, even if it was, the thing is, whatever the fuck the US could land there, it wouldn't be heavy tanks. It would probably be like Bradleys and a bunch of APCs and armored columns with attempts at air support.
Yeah.
The Iranians have T-90s and a lot of infantry.
And,
I would
fortified
challenge
against
that.
air attacks at all places in the entire country.
And most soldiers, and don't even count the fact that most of the soldiers of the Iranian military, including the Revolutionary Guard, are fanatically loyal to their country. And if they see their country being attacked by an enemy that has been demonized for the past 40 years, they are going to fight to the death. Now,
They will not care. They have a backing. They have a religious backing. Therefore, they're not gonna stop.
Exactly, and
Okay.
and
I think we've talked a bit, talk this out on the geopolitics sort of side of Trump's foray into Iran. Do you think perhaps before we go a little too far into simulating it in armor, do you think we should move on?
I'm just gonna say one thing. I would disagree categorically with Theo's statement about what they could do. I think ultimately the biggest problem, like I don't see any problems with the US winning the war, if you like. They're not gonna win the peace. I do the mountain ranges in northern Iran and eastern Iran, like I don't think they could take. What I think they would do is they would do what the Russians kind of did in Afghanistan. The Americans would probably put about 3 carrier groups in the Strait of Hormuz with incredible, overwhelming air support and cover the flat bits. and the major population centers in the southern and western parts of the country. The Marine Corps, a Marine regimental combat team could cut their way through a Revolutionary Guard unit, no problem. They've got the money, they've got the firepower. It's the actual act of controlling the country, and the Americans would not have a chance in fucking hell of doing it. Anyway, you're right, TK. Moving on.
Yes, before we
I
boot
was gonna
on,
say,
More
I
like
was gonna-
Arma fucking LARPing.
I was gonna say it's too late. I've already got it set up.
Oh fuck! Hello and welcome
It's
to
a bit different.
Eastern Marshlands plays Armour.
No, actually, to be honest, I do have the Operational Art of War, the game on. I might stream it later. I'll see if there's a scenario for it. I'll game it out and see how we go.
Jesus Christ! Okay. Just before we move on to the next topic, I just want to remind everyone to like and subscribe, and to notice the donation button we have on this stream, because we're using Streamlabs OBS. If you donate, you get a cool little donation thing on the stream. Here's a test one. Comrade John has donated $19 to the cause. Yeah, so if you've got any, like, $1 or so spare and you don't know what to do with it, you could give it to us. It helps us pay for SoundCloud and storage and whatnot, and it helps us get content to you. So, moving on, diverting our attention to the UK and the Conservative leadership contest between Boris Johnson and Jeremy Hunt. I believe this is Boris Johnson is the absolutely no-deal Brexit, pull the fuck out position. And the question that I want to pose is, if Boris Johnson gets the leadership, what does that mean for the left? Will this make it harder or easier for us to get comrades organised? What?
Crypto?
All right.
As
I'm
someone
just gonna,
that lives in the...
I'm jumping in right here. All I'm going to say is, if Boris is PM, Donald Trump is president, let's just say, ladies and gentlemen, that the special relationship has never been so special.
I'm reminded.
Crypto.
Yeah.
As someone in the United Kingdom, what do
You mean the Free
say?
Territory of Scotland?
Free territory of Alabama.
What do you say? Cyanide or bridge?
I vote bridge, just for style points. Just let's be honest, for style points, do a flip.
I mean, I mean, I would say walk in front of a train, or ideally drown yourself in Loch Ness. But
Well, if you try and walk in front of a plane, it's just gonna be It's just gonna be late.
no, it's not.
I mean, weird moment when crypto becomes a Trotskyist. Armored trains, suicide by armored train.
Pac-Man, don't make me get the ice pick.
Okay, look, throwing this out here, it's this early in the morning, but I don't care.
So just before we hear from Crypto, Brandon Renard in the chat has linked us to a quick update. In the early hours of the morning for good old Boris, the police were called to his home in the early hours of Friday morning after neighbours heard a loud altercation involving screaming, shouting and banging. The argument could be heard outside the property where the potential future Prime Minister is living with Simmons, a former Conservative Party head of press. So the race, it seems to be pretty tense, wouldn't you say, Crypto?
It does, but the thing is that everybody, like, for now at least, the Conservative leadership race, it is not up to the members of Parliament. It is now, and it's not up even to the wider population of the UK. It is now up to the membership of the Conservative Party, and I can unequivocally tell you right now, the membership of the Conservative Party in the UK has become increasingly pro No Deal, to the extent where I'd say a good half of them are in favour of a No Deal Brexit, probably even more actually, and because they they kind of see like this complete failure and weakness. Well, they see this like failure of Theresa May to deliver Brexit as, showing the Conservative Party as being weak, the party of disorder. So what they're wanting is they're wanting someone who's like devoted to getting this through, like deal or no deal. And thus far, Boris Johnson has been the one who's been uncompromising about it, saying we will leave on the 31st of October, deal or no deal. And I think that's what the Conservative Party membership are going to go for. They're not going to go for someone who kind of pussyfoots like, oh yeah, we'll try and renegotiate the deal and see what we can do. No, they're going to want someone who is hard and to the point. And regardless of what Boris Johnson does, I still think he's going to get elected. I mean, look at fucking Donald Trump. Look at the shit that he was accused of doing. And, like, more than likely did do. And actually did do. He still got elected. And it's likely that he's probably going to win the next election in the US as well. So the annoying thing is, like, do not rely on things like scandals or altercations or, past political histories. Ultimately, this leadership contest is now a single issue vote, and that is Brexit. The people who are voting for Boris Johnson or Jeremy Hunt do not give a shit about their past. They do not give a shit about anything else. They want Brexit. And the way that the left needs to organise around this is you can forget mocking Boris Johnson, calling him a buffoon, saying his hair looks like a fucking seagull shat on it or something like that. Because that's not going to work. Laughing at these people does not work. This is the time where we seriously need to start looking at building affinity groups and starting local community-driven activism, because the second we leave with no deal, and I'm actually going to show you this photo just now, that's the thing.
I don't think they can see that, but go ahead.
Yeah, I know, but the Conservative membership is essentially being asked to choose between the guy who completely fucked up the NHS and the guy who wants to sell it to the Americans. And what I'm about to post in the chat, if TK, if you can post this in the YouTube chat as well. This is like a chart that's at an emergency room in Guernsey, which is an independent Crown territory in the Channel Islands, that operates independently from the rest of the UK. But there is a good chance that if we sell the NHS to the Americans, this is what we're going to start seeing at UK hospitals. And to my knowledge, and to my knowledge, those prices are even more expensive than the US, because you're essentially paying, say you've got like a really bad problem like early hours of the morning, late at night. You're essentially, and it's like really critical. You're essentially paying £500 before you even see a fucking doctor.
I'm reminded of this article that dropped about a year ago where there was an opinion piece, I think in The Guardian, where it essentially said, after Brexit, the death of a few 100,000 people will be just a necessity to, quote, cleanse the nation, which has some very interesting connotations.
Oh, gee, I wonder where I've heard that before.
11:30 gonna start.
But the whole thing with, like...
I mean, perhaps I agree with them. How many members does the Conservative Party have?
I think it's just over half, I think.
Okay.
Let me just check. It's about 300.
It was a joke.
No, my dad is talking to me.
I can hear some rustling in the background. Sorry, go ahead, Crypto.
Oh no, okay, so I'm in bed still. That's just my blankets.
But yeah, the whole possibility of Boris Johnson getting elected, like, again, this could just be like a really, like, a really obnoxious pet peeve of mine. I personally hate it when I look at protests and I see people with, like, really stupid signs. It's like, yay, hooray, you've made it to the fucking front page of Reddit. You've made it into the news headlines. And you changed nothing.
You can't change things how they put
you can't shitpost your way into communism.
Exactly.
We've
you
been
can't
trying
shitpost.
And failing.
Exactly.
You say trying. You say you can't do it. We're doing all right.
Yeah, well, I think Peter and I stand in this very strange camp where if it doesn't succeed, you'll just keep doing it just because it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I will say in response to that, when you've made a sign and you have actually changed nothing, all I wanted to say was liberalism.mp4.
Exactly. And it's again, if Boris Johnson gets elected, I can bet you can bet your bottom dollar Scotland will be independent by this time next year.
I
Or
really,
at least
I
in
really
that
don't
proceeding.
think, I really don't think a liberal
I
response.
think you
to...
underestimate. I think Crypto, you really underestimate how little people care what happens to them. People are willing to let the state trample around on them because they are more comfortable with maintaining the status quo because it's what they're used to,
Yeah,
even
but-
if it means that they are going to die.
I
but
think
not
you
in Scotland.
underestimate
Well,
the Scottish people.
yeah, like to be honest, the Scottish people are very, very like honestly, I'd say that Scottish people are much more politically switched on than people in other
Well, I
parts of
was
the
more
UK.
talking about, well, with the
The
exception of the
Anglos.
Midlands, maybe. Yeah, with the
yeah,
exception of the
yeah.
Midlands, maybe. Nobody would object to a military intervention.
I
If they-
imagine.
well-
I imagine if you go up to the average Scottish person and say, "What do you think about poverty?" They'd be like, I don't really care. Oh, what do you think about the situation in Venezuela? I don't know. I don't really care. What do you think about Scottish independence? Scotland forever.
No. I'll do you one better. You go up to any fucking Scot in like the Central Belt in Glasgow, and you ask them, "What do you think of Thatcher?" Ah, fuck that old cow.
Yeah.
Or like something along those lines. Like you ask a Scottish person that is not wealthy, that your average working class Scottish person, they will tell you that they fucking despise the Conservative Party and everything it stands for.
Austrians, for contrast, have become so apathetic and lazy that you could tomorrow institute a policy in which every citizen would have to get one of their limbs broken every day, and nobody would say anything or do anything. They just,
Ignore it, probably.
But
yeah,
when it
they just, oh, this one today, I don't give a shit. I gotta go to work.
But reminder that when it comes to like speaking about countries being politically switched on, let's not forget Scotland and Glasgow in particular was the seat of one of the UK's only socialist uprisings that was led by Marxists. You guys can Google it, Red Clydeside.
Red Clydeside.
Yeah, and that was that shook the British establishment right down to the core, that they had to take Scottish soldiers and put them under house arrest in their barracks. They had to move troops up from the north and Midlands of England, and they had to send in the fucking tanks.
Crypto in chat.
I know. Rural Scotland is really fucking ridiculous, but to be quite honest, I'd say even then, like, and I live in a rural part of Scotland, so believe me, I know this better than anyone.
Whatever that
I would
means.
say I have seen quite a sea change in favour of like the Scottish National Party. But the Tories are second place in Scotland. But the only reason for that is the SNP has swooped in and taken their vote, because Labour has proven, Scottish Labour have proven, that they are nothing more than a bunch of centrist liberals that have basically shed the red flag for a faded shade of pink. And
Who's that? Hey, Crypto. Who's that bird in the Scottish National? Is it National Scottish Party? Scottish National Party. That chick who literally goes fucking ham in Parliament. I can't remember her name,
Mary
but she's an absolute fucking hero.
Mary Black.
She's like,
Yes, and
oh,
the SNP is still full of turfs, though.
They are full
yeah.
of turfs, like without a doubt. They
Yeah.
are. That is a big fucking problem.
Look, we're on the progressive left. We've got a long way to go yet. I'm doing what, like literally centuries of inbuilt prejudice. Like, it's gonna.
Yeah, and keep in mind the SNP aren't exactly leftists; they're social democrats. Anyone holding them up as leftists is
An idiot, but
an idiot. But
they try hard.
at the moment, I view the SNP as a means to an end. I view the SNP as a means of Scotland getting independence.
So
And-
is that why
I
you're
think I
advocating
should-
for more
I should at this
local
point-
organisation?
What's that?
Is that why you're advocating for more local organisation? Because
Yeah,
social
and
democrat.
While
Yeah,
we're
the-
on the topic of turfs and the SNP, I feel the need to share this tweet.
Is this shut the fuck up turf? Oh no,
no,
it's
it's the just it's a meme.
traffic signals. Yes. You want to have seen the fucking like.
There's multiple pictures there.
I love that. Let's take a look at it.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
What were you gonna say, Crypto?
I was gonna say I would be in favour of a like use the SNP as a means to an end and to get Scotland independent. And then because that's the thing, the SNP, if Scotland gets independence, has fulfilled their obligation. They've fulfilled their raison d'etre. So by that logic, they will not exist in the same guise. The whole reason that they're a social democratic big tent style party is because they are pushing for the single goal of getting Scotland independent. Once that happens, the party will split. There will be different parties set up.
If they're a big tent party, does that mean that you could get, say, the Marxist Scottish Party to join them?
The
Just get all of these locally organised groups to register as parties, and then just flood the SNP, and then vote to not be the SNP anymore.
honestly, what I'd say would be like, don't form like political parties, but like form affinity groups. It'd probably be the better way to say it. And obviously,
could you define affinity group for those that don't.
An affinity group is a small group of between, I'd say, 5 and 15 people, maybe 5 and 20, who basically carry out local activism horizontally in their local area or in an assigned district. Some larger organizations have affinity groups, will basically set up affinity groups under their banner and basically make it as part of a cell structure, which is another good way to go about it. And in all honesty, it's a better method of organizing than, like, political parties and the like, because you're not going to different communities and saying, oh, this is what you should do, this is what you should do. You are a part of that community, and you're talking with other members of that community as part of that community. So it's like, it's not as though, like, it's not for example, like you're going to another community entirely that you don't know the people who live there, and you're just spouting off and, proselytizing. It's not like that. The best
I don't
way
even
to
know the people that live here.
Yeah, but I'm speaking about Scotland. Like, obviously, every country is going to have a different means, like, towards organising. I'm just speaking for Scotland, and specifically. There are, and again, the way that I'd say about it is, again, I've said it before, I'll say it again, avoid groups like Class War, the Anarchist Federation, and Solidarity Federation. Avoid them like
Anything you can
plague.
just join.
Yeah, avoid anything you can just join, because 9 times out of 10 you will end up bogged down in little reading groups and little circles that do very little to no activism, and when they do, they do not take.
Does that include the IWW? Because I can just join that.
Well, the IWW is different. It's not a reading.
That's not a fucking party. That's
It's a union.
organization that serves a completely
I
different
just heard all of that, and I'm just thinking, and I'm just like, I'm just having the word tankies repeating over and over in my head. We're all sitting in little groups reading about how great Uncle Joe was.
I mean, that's the thing. Some anarchist groups are guilty of that as well. Like,
Yeah.
Anarcho.
In fact, I'd
It's
say
like-
they're worse a lot of the time.
Like, honestly, they spend more time fucking reading books than they do actively engaging with people in their communities. And it doesn't have to be like on a fucking revolutionary, like radical level, like fucking handing out leaflets. Just go down to the pub and speak to people.
That's essentially what we're doing right now, except over the internet. As if you can see the background on the thing, it's a pub.
Yes, I'm apparently straddling 2 bar stools. And so are you, TK. And so is Pac-Man. We're all strapped. Well, I think the only one on like a single bar stool is Theo. I think the rest of us are just straddling 2 bar stools. Like,
No. TK and I are sharing the one to my right.
oh, wholesome.
That's wholesome.
Wholesome content right here, lads.
I need 2
If he
stools
takes up too
before
much,
I'm chunky.
if he takes up too much space to it, I'll get my miniature helicopter drone and strafe him.
Damn.
Well,
Power. But
Hey, get out of me!
I'm the
Get
only
out of me!
look.
Get
I'm
out-
the
hey,
only
hey, hey.
person fat enough in this chat who needs 2 plus tools.
But honestly, what I'm saying is like, even if Boris Johnson gets elected, please, for the love of Almighty God, do not go down on your knees and ring and scream and be like, why?
Ah, that bloody footage.
That video.
That
And
keeps coming up.
remember that revolution and the possibility of revolution is not going to come when everything's okay. It's not going to come when everything is peachy and hunky-dory and, you haven't got a care in the world, and then all of a sudden everybody just suddenly springs into action and, like, you've got a fucking... and all of a sudden you've got a red and black flag flying over Buckingham Palace. That's not how
This
that's not
is
how it's
what
going to work.
left comms actually believe.
What is going to happen?
To an extent, I disagree with the notion that revolutionary potential cannot happen in a stable climate. I disagree with that notion. I do see where that is coming from, but when people have time, they start thinking.
Nah, you got to understand, Theo. It's more fun this way. Accelerate all the way.
Well, I think
That doesn't-
in times of calm, I mean, it's not very calm right now around the
There
world.
is no such thing as a time of calm. That's a
Yeah, well, in
that's a
the
myth
times that we are
that
in,
only-
in now is the perfect time to get people organized, whether it be joining a more radical union such as the IWW, or forming these smaller affinity groups, or even just
Join
getting
Uwu.
educated, or subscribing to Eastern Marshland. I
Or
think
giving
there
us
is,
money.
I
on
think there is
Patreon.
still work that can be done in preparation for the dark times, where people start reaching out to different people and saying, "Oh God, I didn't realize how bad it could get. Who can help us?" That's where the organized comrades come in and say, "We can help, but you can't just join us. Yeah, you gotta go through a process first."
Not even just go through not even just go through a fucking process, but like at that moment, like this is the thing, is like this is kind of the aspect I disagree with a lot of vanguardists on about, is like the working class does not need an organization to fight on their behalf. The working class ultimately are the ones who must defend their own communities. Now, we can help them do that, but at the end of the day, we cannot, like, to quote Morpheus from the Matrix, we can only show them the door. They have to be the ones to walk through it.
Are we gonna start walking around with big styrofoam doors in
Mate,
protests?
what do you mean?
Yes,
what do you mean?
there's
What do you mean?
no
Start?
such thing as an ML revolution or a leftcom revolution. There's just a proletarian revolution. That is the
Exactly.
only movement.
Yeah, TK. What are you meaning? Start walking around with a styrofoam door? You mean I've been the only one doing it this whole fucking time?
Just walking up to people, just pointing at it, like, "There it is! Use it!"
Just like a little fucking red hammer and sickle on the fucking door frame.
You can
Just,
probably
just
st-
like Kirk Van Houten from The Simpsons, like, "Here's a door! Use it!"
But the whole thing is like, final little note I'd like to... Interesting little factoid I learned. Do you guys know the movie Lord of War? The one with
Yes.
Nicolas Cage in it?
Right. Yeah.
So obviously, it's, for those who don't know, it's a movie about an arms dealer played by Nicolas Cage. And they're obviously working with arms dealers, like trying to get this movie as realistic as possible. They actually like spoke to like an arms dealer and got like 6 or 7 like tanks
It was
like
it was
modern
about
Soviet tanks.
30 tanks.
Yeah,
And
but the
They're a food dealer as well.
but the interesting part of it comes in when they found out, like, because obviously they were wanting props for the AK-47 assault rifle. They found out it was cheaper to buy 3,000 real Czech AKs, like the SAV said 58, than it was to buy 3,000 replicas.
Jesus.
Because you can buy in bulk, dude.
Just to
You can buy in
sidetrack
bulk.
again. There's a line in that movie that I absolutely love using. Whenever someone types in SMH for something, I'll put a question mark and say SMH. What does that mean? Suck my hole? And they're like, oh my god, no. It means shaking my head. And then I put a GIF from Lord of War with the guy that says, "Thank you, but I prefer it my way."
You see, the thing about Austrian people is that we are so apathetic. You could probably raise more revolutionary potential by grabbing a helicopter and going down to Main Street and just strafing the entire main street with a machine gun than you could by organizing.
Yeah, like
And
9 times.
by that I specifically mean that most people that shop there at a Sunday are rich and probably deserved it anyway. I'm not
You go-
advocating to shoot up the Maria
Eastern Marshlands
Hilferstrasse.
does not
Please
advocate for violence
Eastern
against
Marshlands does not
or
advocate
groups.
for violence.
speak for yourself, but in this specific instance, please don't go to the Maria
I was gonna
Hilferstrasse
say-
and start shooting people. Most people there are probably not that rich.
I was gonna say, give us your gold and silver, or we'll give you brass and lead, or copper and lead rather. But-
all I got
Silver or
that
lead.
You know,
Yeah.
no, what you gotta
Platonic
do, what you
love.
gotta do is, you gotta get a pistol. Then you gotta mug people. You gotta tell them, give me 12,000 euros or something. They can't pay you. Fine, you'll let them go. If they can pay you, you take the money and shoot them because they're bourgeois.
Oh my god! Illegalist trots. They'll pull a gun on you in an alleyway and then force a paper into your pocket.
I think Theo's joined the Bono gang.
Okay. I'm just gonna throw this out there. Eastern Marshlands does not advocate for violence at all in any way. Posadas Pac-Man's channel advocates for universal application of violence.
In nuclear form, I assume.
Yeah, exactly. YouTube can't zuck me, to use the colloquial term, if we've all been purged in thermonuclear fire. Thank you very much.
So I take
And,
it you've
you know-
watched the Chernobyl series then?
I have been waiting to watch it with friends because I want to watch it as a group. I have recently been indulging in a absolute marathon binge of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yes, God.
Uh,
Yes.
and it is a wild ride. It is a very wild ride.
Pac-Man, to quote my favourite reaction image, you are an enemy to all women.
Quite possibly.
This must be the work of an enemy stand.
No, it's
I
no.
wish
It's just,
it's-
I've got a video coming out which is going to destroy my credibility of Anime Tube forever. Because I'm going to be making a video defending Sword Art Online Season 2. But anyway,
Oh boy.
that's
See,
gonna,
On the
that's gonna get me in
topic,
trouble.
I am fucking livid at the Evangelion dub.
Oh,
They
yeah.
did some fucking.
I heard there was a bit of
First of all, it subpar compared to the original dub. Second of all, weird, very specific,
Removals of things.
yeah, removal of, well, it wasn't even subtext. They changed,
Wasn't it very
the-
overt gay shit?
yes, they, changed I love you to, they changed the word love to like categorically. That, and they very strangely changed some translations in that content warning, very traumatic scene about Asuka, and changed it to the point where it's basically meaningless because they shifted dialogue around to the point where it was kind of neutered and nothing makes sense anymore. And you have to try to fuck up that bad.
Where can I get a good version of?
The original dub, I'd have to find it, but it's out there.
To the Pirate Bay.
Watch it in the original sub. Watch it in sub first run. Best way of doing it. I haven't watched Evangelion in so long.
I still haven't seen.
That's the next thing we gotta do then, I suppose.
Oh,
all right. Off anime. We have another topic.
You're right.
Okay, excuse me. No, this is an anime stream now, ladies and gentlemen. We have taken over.
Oh
the
god,
weebs
the
have
anime
seized
positists
this
have
stream.
seized the stream.
We
They came
have
knocking on my
seized the
door.
stream. Okay, just throwing this out there for any weeb comrades in the chat. I have recently formed an alliance with a channel called Shonen Ronin. If you haven't seen their channel, they do leftist analysis of anime like I do. If you haven't seen their channel, you need to go and do that right now. Shonen Ronin are amazing.
I just
Anyway.
have a Twitter account where I shit post about anime and 40k and other
Also,
weird shit stuff.
Also watch Zombieland Saga if you haven't done
Yes.
that already.
Yes.
Watch that. All
Okay.
right, so welcome to Anime with Comrades. I'm Posadas Pac-Man.
I'm gonna
This
move us
stream has
on.
now been collectivized.
I'm gonna
The
move us
normies
on
should
real
now
quick.
step into the.
Before we
Anime
move on
gulag.
to the events in Brazil, just want to remind everyone that you can like and subscribe. You can also donate to the stream, and when you subscribe, you'll see your name appear in the thing. So here's a test subscriber. Yeah, Comrade Eastern Marshlands just subscribed. You get your name in the thing, so don't forget to do that. And when someone donates, here's a test donation. It didn't show up. But that's the noise that it makes. But yes, don't forget to donate. If you got like a spare couple of dollars, it really helps us to give back to the comrades by being able to do SoundCloud and putting out these streams every week. So, Brazil, very I believe recently has a general strike in across the entire country, I believe. The article that I read was saying that there were 45 million workers on a general strike, I believe, over aged pension cuts. I believe this is one of the largest general strikes that I've seen in my lifetime, at least. And the question I want to pose is to everyone is this it? Is it starting in Brazil? Is it time to erect the barricades, or is this just the liberals going a little more radical and then?
No, I'm looking at photos from this strike right now. If you're talking about barricades, they've got flaming tire barricades across some
Yeah.
roads.
Hang Bolsonaro, revolution!
Oh God, please, let's go, revolution.
Yeah, there's apparently a larger presence of non-liberals.
Yeah, there's a fucking.
I
massive
see a
presence.
lot of red there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And let's not forget, Brazil has to my knowledge, it has a fairly sized anarchist movement.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I'm just hoping the
Brazil
anarchists and
also
the,
has a fairly sized ANCAP movement. So I mean, come on.
I think
well,
I think the meme I've seen online is that Brazil is very reactionary, but
Mm-hmm.
I
There's
think
a lot of
you know,
ANCAPs and somehow
Sorry, go ahead. What was that?
there's a lot of ANCAPs in Brazil.
There's a lot of ANCAPs online from Brazil. Just
yeah.
I think mainly because all the comrades in Brazil are busy,
Doing
organizing
things.
for a general strike, as we could see.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I put a picture up in the chat just now. If you
Mhm.
see what I mean. That's a photo that warms my little heart right.
Lula
Yes.
Libra. Lula.
Why don't we have more flaming tire barricades?
Honestly, I don't know. It's a good tactic.
We don't
They're
have
more
enough.
fun.
Well-
Q liberals saying that we shouldn't do it because it hurts the environment.
Yeah.
Well, you see, why have a tire barricade when you can have a flaming vehicle barricade?
That is true. Like fucking with
You
Porsches.
you drive an IED into
Well,
a
We don't
totally
support violence.
We do
no,
not
I was
support
gonna say,
violence.
you drive an IED into a totally unpopulated street with police dummy puppets, and then you use the remnants of that IED as a barricade to shield yourself from bees.
so
From bees.
are you saying?
Hi, ASIO.
Are you? Hey, AFP, open up!
How you going?
FBI, open up!
I'm outside of their
Hi.
jurisdiction.
Oh, no.
They can't do shit to me.
I don't know
So-
about you. The GCHQ are at my fucking door right now. There's some cunt here with a balaclava holding a fucking Glock to my head.
That's fucking that's Arthur.
So
Tell him the lasagna's in the fridge.
they've managed.
That's Jeremy Hunt giving you your tax dollars.
I was gonna say when you said Arthur Thiel, the only thing I could think of every day when you're walking down the street,
Down the street, and the people
everybody
that
that
you
you
meet.
meet.
So
Ed-
they've gotten 45 million workers to strike. They've got tire barricades in the streets. There's red flags everywhere. Do you think, like, even if Bolsonaro, pisses his own pants, scared, and is like, oh, okay, fine, have the age pension back, do you think they're gonna just stop, or do you think they're gonna escalate?
I don't know.
You never know. Some are
Yeah,
gonna stop. Some aren't gonna stop. The question is,
How much will stop
how
once they've
is-
gotten their concession?
how is the state gonna respond to that?
Yeah, though to my knowledge, the vast majority of obviously it's a bit like France in which the catalyst was the fuel prices, but it's being sustained by a general hatred for Macron. I think it's a similar thing in Brazil just now.
Yeah.
Well, my country's politics are on fire. If anyone's heard of that recently.
Yeah, your government's fucked.
No, they got actually deposed. Have you talked about this on stream before?
I don't think we have. Could you give us an update?
Right.
There?
So, for the past 2.5 years, we've actually, 2.5 years, we've had a coalition between the conservative Austrian People's Party and the far-right Freedom Party of Austria, which is a party which, I shit you not, was founded after the Second World War by former SS members to reinstitute the economic policy of the Third Reich. Fun side note there. Fun side note there.
Quality.
Coincidentally, they also constantly get convicted of hate crimes and anti-Semitic remarks. Wonder why that is.
Remember,
But
Imagine my shock.
they were in government before, from 2000 to 2008. They fucked the country over so massively. But they got re-elected 2 years ago. And, a bit less than 2 years ago, actually. Hold on.
I think it was I think it was 2017, 2000.
Yeah, it was. There was 2 years. Huh. Anyway, so what happened was that Hans Christian Strache, the leader of the far-right party, was on vacation in Ibiza. And
Ibiza.
clandestinely disguised fucking reporter caught him on film as he tried to sell state assets to Russian oligarchs.
Hmm.
Huh.
Which is illegal. Very illegal.
Very
This
illegal.
is
They could have gotten
illegal,
away
you
with.
know.
Look, they could have gotten away with, I don't know, burning down a synagogue. They probably could have survived that. Corruption's a bit more.
Hard to dodge.
I don't want to say serious, but we take it more seriously in the Court of Justice, which is telling. But let's not get into that. So what happened then is that very quickly, very quickly, people were calling for the resignation of the government. And
the entire government.
So what happened then is that the coalition was slammed. So then the Conservative Party was just in government alone. But then literally a day after that specific government constellation was, hacked to pieces, and new ministers were sworn in literally the next day. One of the parliamentary leaders of the Social Democratic Party launched a vote of no confidence against the Chancellor, and for the first time in the history of the Second Republic, it passed.
Oh.
And the
Oh
government,
boy.
the government had to resign. The entire government had to resign. There's now an interim government made up of members of the Conservative Party, but all ministers had to resign.
Oh boy.
The Chancellor had to resign, and we have to have re-elections by the end of, I think, November. We're gonna have elections in September.
Shit, son.
So that's sort of the situation
political,
that we're all wrestling in.
like,
Yeah.
climate of Austria. Fuck.
I would like
Yeah.
to remind our dear comrades tuning in tonight, fascists do not count as human beings, so crimes against humanity against them are not counted as crimes against humanity.
Yeah, that,
Email does not advocate
that's
violence.
true.
Eastern Martin does not advocate violence against individuals.
Now, not against groups of people. Okay, not against that, but
Beep.
Okay,
Here comes
So throwing this out. So throwing this out there, just so you know, sarin is colorless, odorless, and disperses in a
Oh,
short
fuck.
period of
Oh,
time.
Okay, go, calm down.
We are not
Calm
going.
down, Shogo Asahara.
We are not going fucking Om Shinrikyo on this fucking bitch.
Listen,
We know-
listen,
we're
I
very-
just
Chief,
it is
listen.
very
We don't
easy
need
to.
another Tokyo 1995.
It is
Okay,
very
look.
easy. It is very easy to make napalm in your own home. All you need is gasoline and something to bind it with, like washing detergent.
Or
You're gonna
polystyrene.
have
This
the FBI knocking on my door. I need you to stop.
yeah, okay, all right, that's
Look,
that's
guys,
fair enough.
we
Honestly-
can't talk about
Okay.
how if you put styrofoam in diesel, it makes napalm, okay? Okay, guys?
Okay,
We cannot
so-
talk about how you take a length of pipe,
the
pack
production
it full of...
Eastern Martians does
Now-
not endorse the production of napalm.
So I'm just
That
saying,
reminds
if
me.
there's a KKK rally in Idaho or somewhere, and half the members suddenly have their assholes turn out of their mouths, I'm not saying we were responsible.
Now,
But we
Crypto,
might have been.
what was that joke you made earlier about the first car in space?
Here's the thing. Everybody likes to say that Elon Musk was the first person to send a car into space. I have the opinion that ETA actually beat him to it when they assassinated Louis Carrero Blanco.
I've
The
seen
first
that
fascist
picture.
in
Yeah, the car just fucking zoom up
Uh,
into the sky.
There are still people in jail for telling that joke, by the way.
So, I think.
Well,
um,
The Spanish government can come and
Carry on,
bite
guys.
me.
Don't want to talk about some of the bodies still in the air.
we've got situations in Venezuela, Brazil, France, Belgium. The UK is about to go under with a no-deal Brexit. It seems like, just taking a step
Scotland's
back
about
and
to
looking at
pull
the
its way
entire
out,
world,
like-
it looks like there's a lot of instability. Is this the capitalist crisis that Marx was
is.
talking about?
It is.
Oh yeah,
it
we're
is.
coming in.
Insert Billy Joel. We didn't start the fire, but actually we did.
But
This
here's the
time?
thing. Here's the thing. I may not be a Maoist, but if you would permit me to commit to quote Mao for a second, everything under heaven is in utter chaos. The situation is excellent.
Is excellent. Anti-avian gang fam
Anti-
represent.
Anti-avian gang.
All
To
right.
quote Vladimir Lenin. Hello.
Shit.
World tension, 100%.
Because it seems like a lot of smaller groups, say, right-leaning affinity groups, if you will, as opposed to going to a rally and trying to create an opposition and say, oh, let's debate these things, these ideas in the marketplace of ideas. Now they're going to attempt to disrupt their opponents. They're not just there.
The Virgin marketplace of ideas versus the chat battlefield of beliefs.
Pretty much. I think what was it? I said it a while ago on EML. They're not marching anymore. They're displays of machismo to recruit. They're not trying to have a free speech rally. They're just trying to see who'll listen to them so they can recruit them. And I'm talking about the Proud Boys and the National Socialists of America, those people.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so it seems like a lot of groups aren't really trying to put forward their ideology anymore. They're prepping for a showdown, the ultimate hoedown, my friends. So, I mean, what the hell are we doing apart from this stream? Like, are we getting ready? Do we need to get ready? Is it time? Is it time, comrades?
Well,
Build, if I may,
Mm-hmm.
work together, form groups, form affinity groups, build trust, learn basic skills. Obviously, if you're in the UK, do not fucking go and get your hands on guns before anything kicks off, because that's a fucking stupid idea. Do not
If you're
send
in
yourself.
the US,
Arm yourself if you're in
what
the
is legal?
If you're in the US, arm yourself, train with them, study squad tactics, and
Yeah, but don't be like a fucking LARPer though.
yeah,
Yeah.
do not fucking be a LARPer. Do not fucking video that shit and fucking post it. Edgy, LMAO, fucking let's
Fucking
spray
with
50.
like fucking vaporwave videos. Like
Yeah,
no,
don't do that shit.
what
Fun
did someone
fact.
say? LMAO.
Funny enough, now there's no reason I'm sharing this particular piece of information, but technically there is nothing illegal about owning a flamethrower, an RPG, a tracked vehicle if it is under a certain weight.
or a tank as long as you not load it.
Yeah,
It's fully operational, but it's not loaded, officer.
and the thing is, like, if you're in an area where it's not likely to devolve into out and out civil war, and it's more likely to, like, the country is going to go out and out fascist and very authoritarian, totalitarian, big brother state. Make sure you've got somewhere else in the country that you can go to before, and make sure you've got a bug out place to go to if shit hits the fan.
All in all, friends.
What's that one Trotsky quote that's really good? If you cannot convince a fascist, acquaint his
His
like
head with the
with the
pavement.
pavement.
Mm.
No,
To put it in more elegant
acquaint him
terms.
with your friend who you call pavement, not the pavement, just your friend who's called pavement.
To put it in more modern terms, make the Viet Cong look like a bunch of school children.
I was thinking more along the lines of, make Macno proud.
Jesus. I think if we're chucking quotes out there, I'll say, now is not the time to panic. Now is the time to organize. Because,
Which is basically the same thing.
yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah. Because
All you fuckers are talking small fry. I'm gonna make Hiroshima look like
firecracker.
No, Pac-Man,
Just watch
stay
me.
away from the nuclear reactor. Stay away from
Pac-Man,
AZ5, damn it. Stay away from it.
Pac-Man.
Pac-Man, you're gonna make Sarbumba look like a fucking firecracker, like a
Oh
match.
yeah.
I was gonna say,
Here's
like,
the
let's
thing,
just,
Pac-Man.
let's just keep Pac-Man away from SeaWorld post-revolution, please.
Yeah.
Oh, mate. Don't you remember? I still have
Pac-Man.
my republic to build. I have an island full of fairy penguins off the coast of South Australia. The Republic of Penguinistan is happening. And we are going to build our own republic.
Pac-Man? The only thing... Well, actually, the bad thing about nukes is that you can't see the damage you've done.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can.
Not when you're blinded
Radiation
by the light.
sickness is just a way of cleansing the soul, okay?
Settle
It
down,
is something-
children of Atom.
Yeah, I was going to say, the children of Adam are Posadists. That's what they are. Let us be divided in Atom's glow.
I think a lot of people listening to this stream, if you can't set up like a bug out location or a bug out bag, or if you can't set up an affinity group, the best thing you can do is when you're chatting with your, or would you guys agree, the best thing you can do right now is chat to your friends and say, look, this certain organization that's advocating for this, they're not your friends. They just want to do, fashy things, and then bring them proof and whatnot.
Yeah.
What you should not do is what Pac-Man over here does and go, hey guys, do you want to nuke the world with me?
I'm just gonna say I've pre-ordered plane tickets to Albania if y'all want to come.
Oh yeah,
I've got a nice place.
Because
I've
all
got
the
places to
bunkers
bug
are
out
still just lying around.
just lying around. We've got bunkers, my friend.
Here's the thing, right? He built all those bunkers, and then I don't think Albania has been invaded since. Therefore, the bunkers worked.
I don't want to set the
The
world,
world
on
fire.
Speak for yourself, liberals.
Exactly, 100%. 100%. That song is liberalism in the extreme.
I want to set the world on fire manually.
Yeah, look, napalm takes too long. Besides, our
You just need
dolphin
a lot of it.
comrades need assistance. I mean, Fallout's a pretty good example. Look, Fallout is a perfect example. I'm suggesting that our thermonuclear weapons act as the forced evolutionary violence. The forced evolutionary virus. Forced evolutionary virus is basically thermonuclear weapons. We can evolve the dolphin.
Are you done?
No, not really.
He'll never be done until he sees the glow. In the
Exactly.
horizon.
The glow is what matters.
Yeah, he's not going to stop until his children start glowing lime green.
Bold of you to assume that I plan on having children, Crypto.
See,
I'm
positivism starts from ripping out the small radioactive material from smoke detectors, and then putting them on the ends of bullets to in an attempt to make depleted uranium rounds when all you're doing is just...
I don't know, fucking move to the Faroe Islands, my guy. Like, they're isolated.
I mean, I've got
Look,
Faroe Islands.
Wales and
okay.
shit.
I'm
No,
going
what
to,
you
I'm going
gotta
to give you
do-
a quote. I'm going to give you a quote, guys. It is a wise and noble man to plant the seeds of a mushroom cloud whose shade he will not sit in. Okay? That is all I have to say.
What shade? It's a big ball of light and heat.
Makes you almost wish for a nuclear winter.
Put on goggles or turn away and do not stare directly at the blast.
I'm going
Or
out in
do,
style,
I'm not-
boys.
I'm a PSA, not a cop.
Okay, thank God. I was gonna say I thought you said PSL there for a second.
PSL?
I literally followed it up with I'm not a cop, Crypto.
Okay, thank God. Also, I'm going to be right back.
Right here.
Viva la Dolphin Revolution.
What else to really talk about? I mean, we talked about the strike, and the
Well,
conservative government.
yeah, I guess in terms of taking a step back and looking at all the different situations around the world, and yeah, this is it. This is the capitalist crisis that Marx is talking about, and
Uh, to kind of fulfill my thing, full support to the workers in Brazil.
Oh yeah.
solidarity with the workers in Brazil. But what can we do more than just saying solidarity? Because then it's just on the same level
Unionize,
as
you fuckers.
Empty word.
Unionize.
Yeah, when we say solidarity and then go back to playing armor, it's the equivalent of thoughts and prayers kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? What more could we be doing?
Well, I'm going to a delegate conference for the local trade unions and the upcoming merger on Monday, so that's going to be fun. Which is going to be great fun.
If I may address the people of my own country for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
You fucking idiots. They're gonna just elect the same people again. And you're still not out there burning down that stupid parliament. I say, the next time that you elect the same government constellation to the same government and are then surprised when they do the exact same thing as they've done in the past 15 years, while admittedly there may not be a lot of good electoral options, well, there is another option, and that's called a bottle of whiskey, a rag, and a lighter.
Molotovs,
Thank you.
not milkshakes.
Goodbye. I'd say both. Now you see, if you want to talk to Austrians, you gotta insult them. They don't listen otherwise.
Tonight on Cracking the Code.
Just a jar full of anthrax makes the economy go down.
Fuck's sake.
What?
Yeah, I think
What?
What I would suggest.
We're not doing bioterrorism now.
To answer my own question, I guess it's if we are to build the international left, then we got to have lines of communication. And if you see an article about, say, perhaps some comrades in Belarus who went on strike over unpaid wages, share that shit everywhere you can. Let it be known that it worked too. Those workers in Belarus went on strike, and their bosses said, "All right, fine, we'll pay your back pay and pay you properly from here on out." And they said, "All right, let's go back to work then, because we've got what we wanted." It's like, it worked. It worked. These tactics work. Comrades banding together work. Let's let other comrades know in other countries. Retweet it, share it, stream about it, as we're doing now. Get people knowing about it, at least.
I always say the same thing when I come on here. The only way to truly spread class consciousness is to do what we do on the internet every day. Except we have to do it in real life. We can't just lie up here and bullshit around. Every chance I get an opening, even with my customers on the phone at work, if I see an opening, I'll explain the crisis of capitalism in no uncertain terms. I have explained the labor theory of value and how it plays into the mobile phone I just sold somebody. I have done that at work. I wish I could find the recording and play it publicly, but I did it. I sat there and explained to them how capitalism will inevitably collapse by using the phone I just sold them as an example. Okay,
Brilliant.
I have done that. It's not hard to do. Every time I walk around my incredibly capitalist, sales-driven workplace with a giant hammer and sickle on my backpack, and my union T-shirt saying "Unionize and Organize" with my union's logo on the arm. I walk around my workplace and I make it very clear. We are here. Our wages need to go up. Our living conditions need to improve. our share in the means of production need to be going around. And I speak to some of the more capitalist people there, and I explain to them why I hold my position, why capitalism is doomed to fail. It has to fail by its own design. It can't sustain itself, which means that we need to find an alternative. And socialism is the alternative.
It's either
Just not socialist alternative.
it's
Not
either,
socialist alternative. Fuck them.
it's either socialism or barbarism.
And now,
Yes.
well, that's what it was 100 years ago. Now it's socialism or extinction.
Or extinction.
There you go. Well, I think that's actually a good final word from Pac-Man, and possibly a good time to wrap this stream up. Anybody else have any last words, last plugs? Who should we subscribe to?
Well, go and follow fucking Drill on Twitter, I guess, or something. I don't know.
Drill.
Can we radicalize Drill?
I think it's too late.
Acting like he isn't already. Behind that screen, Drill is on some like Guy Debord level fucking like just shit posting.
I mean, he has memed at fucking what's his face, like Charlie Kirk and Stephen Crowder a few times.
Yeah,
Am I
not
missing
radical-
something? Who is this person?
If Drill is
Drill-
not radical,
Drill is a
he
shit post.
damn well near it.
Drill is a shit posting account that posts very strange tweets on Twitter. The term corn cobbing comes from Drill's tweets.
Again, if Drill is
What's-
not radical, he's damn near close.
What's the @ for Drill? I need to follow this man.
It's Drill.
It's
At
Drill.
Drill.
R. Yeah. Hold on. I'm just gonna
He's DRIL.
Yeah.
DRIL at DRIL.
There you go.
Comrades,
There
Our
it
comrade.
is.
Drill.
Comrade Drill.
Comrade Drill.
I'm just gonna read one of these out if I may. Age 0, baby. I want my data. Age 25, millennial. I want my data. Do you see how fucked up fuck this is? Get my ass on SNL and make me the boss of SNL, and I can promise you, I will bring back all of the classics.
What did I just come back to?
Oh, we're reading drill
Drill.
tweets.
Well,
Drill.
Anyway,
I said,
we're wrapping.
Yeah, it's a good time to wrap up, and I said, who should we follow on Twitter? Who should we subscribe to? And apparently, Drill is the one we should be.
Yes.
Following.
Drill is the revolutionary vanguard.
And you should also follow EML and me.
Follow me on Twitter.
Yeah, we've got it.
At the Crimson Fucker.
Don't know why you'd follow me, but
got-
go
I
ahead.
mean, I don't tweet much. I'm more active on Instagram.
All right, if everyone's done their plugs, and
Basic white girl hours.
yeah. Well, I just want to say, thank you to DipDap, Theo, Crypto, Pac-Man, and Senna for the couple of seconds that she was on. Want to thank everybody in the chat. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and to share this on Twitter. And remember that you can still donate to the Streamlabs donate link down below. And capitalism is collapsing. Agitate and organize, comrades. Catch you later.
Now that that's done, I'll be going and fucking a bucket of napalm. Cheers.
Cheers.